Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening's Town of Amherst Traffic Safety Board. Meeting today is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. First order of business here is just introduction of who everybody is up here. I am Eric Fraz, Chairman, and we'll just go around the table here and for introductions.
Kara Biddlecamp, Vice Chair.
Maxwell Khan, member.
Ryder, member.
Kevin Cantwell, oh, that was loud. Kevin Cantwell, board member.
Devin versus Amherst Police Department. Scott Marshall, Planning Department. Bill Crowley, the Building Department. Dale Spool, Highway Department.
Chris Schregel, Engineering Department, Traffic Safety Coordinator.
Mike Zuccalla, Liaison, and Amherst Town Board member.
Thank you. And next order of business, just as a matter of order here, should the alarm sound in the building, the emergency exits are to my left, your right, out those doors, enter the front or rear of the building. So as we started off getting before, we're starting a little bit late this evening because we only have 5 members on this board. This board consists of 10 members, of which there's only 9 currently appointed by the town board. In order to vote on any agenda items this evening, we need to have a quorum of 6 by the bylaws set for us by the town. However, with 5 members, we are able to host a meeting. So any items that are on this agenda this evening that require voting, we are not able to vote on those items. Those items would have to be held for the meeting that we have in April, when hopefully we will have 6 members present to vote. With that said, there are many items on this agenda this evening that do not require votes, since they're advisory positions that we can refer to the town departments. We also have a guest this evening to speak to us on a presentation for one of the agenda items. So we will move forward with the agenda. Normally when we move through the agendas, we normally go through the order of the agenda based on the way that individuals are signed in for the new and old business. Site plans are then held till the end of the meeting because there's a different process to go through those site plans. Since we're not able to vote on any agenda items this evening and we only have 2 groups of people signed in, we will go through the agenda item that you're signed in for, and then we'll move to the site plan that we have people here for this evening. So just real quick to make sure that I have this all right. Item number 3 on the agenda is Maple Road, Old Lyme, Maple West Elementary. We have people signed in for that item. And then we also have people signed in for site plan A, which is 2345 North French Road. Is there anybody in the audience that's here for any other item this evening? Okay, so we're going to go through in that order. We'll go through item 3, and then we will go to site plan A, and then the board will go through the other items on the agenda that we need to go through, and we can get you all out of here in a more timely fashion this evening. With that all said as well, our first order of business is normally to review the minutes from the prior meeting, which would have been the February meeting. Since we do not have a quorum, we will hold the voting on the approval of the February meeting minutes until April. With that also for this evening tonight, we're just going to jump right into it on some of the rules here based on what we have on the agenda. I don't think we'll run into issues on this. We will go through the agenda items like I discussed. When we do open everything up, we'll open up for public comment. Chris will give us a brief overview of what is occurring, what the agenda item is. For site plan, for item number 3, we have a presenter for that item, so we'll let the presenter also present this evening. After that, we will open it up for public comment. When we open things up for public comment, there will be a 3-minute public comment period that you'll be granted. You'll get 2.5 minutes. After 2.5 minutes, we'll give you a single ring of the bell. That indicates you have about 30 seconds left. And then from there, we will go through to the next agenda item. After we go through all that, the board here will have a discussion and we'll let you know from there what the next steps are in the process. As you are speaking up here this evening, we already have a packet of all of the agenda items, all of the information that's been shared with us. So use your 3 minutes wisely. You don't need to repeat anything that's already been shared with us. We already have those copies. So no need to do any of that. With that being said, we will open things up here for agenda item number 3, which is Maple Road, Old Lyme, and Maple West Elementary School. And Chris, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. This was last reviewed back in August 2025, where this board took a look at the intersection of Old Lyme, Maple West Drive with Maple Road and took a look at a request from a resident requesting a left turn arrow going into the school. It was reviewed and found that the last time you significantly reviewed this was back 10 plus years ago, where an engineer determined that the left turn warrant criteria was not met. After discussion, the Traffic Safety Board thought it would be beneficial to do a re-review, given the sensitivity with the school, as well as Tim Hortons and a recent crash that occurred there. It was recommended that the town go out to a transportation engineer to conduct a re-study. That was referred to the engineering department, where the town selected Fisher Associates to proceed with a re-study. Here tonight to present the findings of that study is Tim Faulkner, the Senior Transportation Manager. Please welcome Tim. We've got a brief presentation where then after he concludes his presentation, we'll open it up to the public for discussion. Tim, when you're ready.
Thank you, Board. Thank you for having me tonight. So, as Chris said, Tim Faulkner, Senior Transportation Manager with Fisher Associates.
Can you just pull that microphone
Go
down?
closer.
Yep, there you
How's
go.
that?
Thank you.
Senior Transportation Manager with Fisher. I'm approaching 40 years in this traffic engineering business, so I've seen a lot over the years, and never ceases to amaze me different things that occur in our communities here. So, next slide. So really the objective of this study was to look at the intersection of Maple Road, Old Lime Drive, and Maple West Elementary School driveway to determine if a left turn arrow for the westbound approach of Maple Road into the school meets the guidelines for a dedicated left turn phase, either protected or protected plus permitted left turn, and also to look at potential for a left turn phase for the eastbound Maple Road traffic onto Old Lime Drive. So we had a number of things that we were studying here as part of this. Primarily, we did some traffic behavior observations. We actually went out in the field. We watched traffic there during the school morning arrival period, the afternoon dismissal, and the PM peak hour, the PM peak commuter hour. And we also had the benefit of reviewing the MyoVision videos from that intersection on different days to see if what we were observing in the field was atypical or typical. We also did a crash history review of the intersection to determine if there was a crash pattern there that would indicate that there is a left turn issue there with people turning left in front of through vehicles. We did some data collection, and that was mainly through the MyoVision system. We did an operational analysis of the intersection. Not only did we look at existing conditions, but we looked at what we call 2030 conditions, which is 5 years in the future, which is typically what the engineering department does. They look 5 years when they do their capital planning. They look 5 years out. So we were looking at if something needed to be done there, we wanted to kind of look at what would be at 5 years in the future. We also reviewed the signal timing of the intersection to determine if it was optimized, and we also looked at the red and yellow clearance intervals. And then the last thing was really the left turn phasing criteria review. So some of the things that we observed when we were out there, the westbound left turn queue, which is the westbound left turn, which is the left turn into the driveway, the school driveway. During the morning arrival period, there was a maximum of 7 vehicles in that left turn lane, which usually included 1 or 2 buses. During the afternoon dismissal, there was only a queue of 2 to 3 vehicles. The eastbound queues were very minimal, rarely exceeded 2 vehicles. The one thing that we did note was there was significant queuing in the school driveway that backed all the way up to Maple Road during the morning arrival period. Cars were not able to get through that drop-off line quick enough within the school district property, causing the queues to extend back out to Maple Road. And really what that caused was a conflict with people trying to turn left into the school. And this is just a clip from the MyoVision video. And what you see in the top portion of the picture there is the left turn queue backing out onto Maple Road, or the queue from the school backing up onto Maple Road. And then, and the bottom half of that picture is the left turns waiting to queue in there. And really what we noticed as we were watching these videos is when that queue backed up, as the queue started to move within the school, it was the right turn vehicles that were jumping into the queue to get in there. Because the left turns have to wait as an order of, traffic, the right turn has priority over the left turn. So the left turns were not getting in there, and they became impatient. And what we noticed was either the left turns trying to jump into that line, even when there was not an appropriate gap in traffic, which caused through vehicles to have to either brake or stop, or they were running the red light to get in there. So it was a number of traffic conflicts as we were observing this traffic. So the first thing we did was look at a crash history of the intersection itself. The town provided 3 years worth of crash data, and those consisted of the motor vehicle accident reports for the intersection. Of the reports, there was a number of the reports that were given to us were not directly related to the intersection. Some of them were related to the Tim Hortons on the northeast side of the intersection, or the little plaza on the northwest side. But there were 11 reported crashes at the intersection itself. 10 of them were property damage only. There was only one crash that involved an injury, and there were only two left turn crashes reported in those 3 years, and those both happened to be in 2025. Most of the crashes there are related to rear end accidents, which are fairly typical of a high volume intersection. So, like I talked about before, we looked at the left turn crash conflicts at the intersection, and really a crash conflict occurs when the left turning vehicle crosses directly in front of or blocks the lane of an opposing vehicle, and the opposing vehicle has to either brake or stop. If they don't, then there's going to be a crash there. So that's considered a crash conflict. There's another left turn conflict occurs when there's a second through vehicle behind that first one, also either has to brake or stop because somebody's starting to run that red light phase. So during the morning arrival, which is when we saw most of the crash conflicts, there were 10 conflicts that we observed for the westbound left turn lane over that 1 hour period. And again, the majority of these conflicts occurred when one or more vehicles tried to turn left on red due to the driver impatience caused by queuing in the school driveway. So basically, the drivers got frustrated. They saw their chance to go, even if it was right at the end of the yellow phase, beginning of the red phase, and they went, because they knew all traffic was going to stop. And sometimes they were kind of half in, half out of the intersection, but most of them occurred during that red phase. So we also collected traffic volumes at the intersections, and really the two things that they really want you to kind of point out here is the westbound left turn movement, which is the Maple Road westbound left turn. In the morning, there were 91 left turns, and that mainly due to all the people dropping their kids off at school. And then you can see during the other times of the day, there weren't a lot either on the westbound side or the eastbound side. And really what this kind of, if you look at those volumes, for the most part, the left turns, there's about one left turn every 2 minutes, except during that morning arrival period when there's about a left turn every 40 seconds. So there's not a lot of left turns there at that intersection other than during the morning arrival period. Next. So this is very hard to read. This is our operational analysis of the intersection, and really what I'll do is I'll summarize it here for you. So we looked at both the existing conditions and the 2030 conditions that we talked about. And how we rate an intersection is it's sort of like a report card. You rate them A through F, with A being the best and F being the worst. Typically, we like to see our intersections operate at level service C or better in a suburban location. In more dense urban locations like the city of Buffalo, D or E is considered acceptable. But out in the suburbs, we like to operate at C or better. So what we did is we looked at the existing conditions. We found that during all three time periods that we looked at, which was the student arrival period in the morning, the dismissal period in the afternoon, and the commuter PM peak, which traditionally is the highest volume hour of the day, this intersection operated at level service A. Great. So we also looked at an optimized condition. Well, if we optimize the timings based on the volumes there, and also as part of that, we looked at the yellow clearance intervals and the red clearance intervals, and we found that the yellow clearance intervals were a little short for this intersection, so we lengthened them out. And traditionally, when you optimize a signal, you get a little better level of service, so that's why it operates a little worse than what's shown under existing, is because we extended those yellow clearance times for that intersection. But even under the optimized conditions, we're still working at level service A. Then what we did was we looked at two left turn scenarios for the eastbound and westbound left turns. We looked at a protected left turn, which is really the green arrow, so you can only turn left on the green arrow, or a protected plus permitted, where you would get a green arrow for a short period of time, and then you would get the green ball, and you could continue turning left as long as cars weren't coming at you in the opposite direction. And with the left turn phase, the intersection degraded to a level service B. So intersection operations got worse for the intersection overall, and then particularly for the left turn movements, they worsened from level service A to level service C. And I should note that this left turn analysis assumes that there is no blockage at the school driveway. So this assumes that anybody that wants to turn left can turn left in, being unimpeded. So this is under like an ideal condition if that driveway wasn't blocked. So you can see that, you know, with the left turn phase, we would get poor operations at that intersection, mainly because we're adding another signal phase to the intersection, and the heaviest movements on that roadway are the through movements on Maple Road. So if we add another phase, we're taking green away from that through movement and giving it to the left turn phases, which increases the delay for the through movements. So overall, that's why the intersection gets a little worse. Again, we also looked at the signal timing for the intersection, the red clearance intervals and the yellow clearance intervals. We found that the red clearance intervals, which are around 1 second, are within either meet or exceed the standards that we typically use. For the yellow clearance intervals, those are, that we found out they were about a second short, a little over a second short, and really the yellow clearance intervals is a function of the speed of the vehicles on the roadway, a perception time of a driver. When they see that yellow, it takes them a little time to perceive, oh, I've got to slow down or try and speed up and get through that yellow. And then also the deacceleration rate of a car, which is roughly between 10 or 11 feet per second. So given all of that, we found that the yellow clearance intervals were a little short for that intersection as it exists now. And then the last thing we looked at was the left turn phase warrants to see if a left turn phase meets the criteria for this intersection. And there's 5 specific criteria that are laid out for this. One involves the level of service of the intersection, that if you put in a left turn phase, that has to show an improvement in the level of service. There's a criteria related to delay, which is that the existing left turn has to have at least 2 vehicle hours of delay. The volume has to be at least 50 miles or 50 vehicles per hour, and that delay of that vehicle has to be at least the average delay has to be at least 35 seconds for the left turn. There's also a volume criteria, which is really the product of the left turning volumes times the opposing volume has to be greater than 100,000. We have to have more than 14 traffic conflicts during the peak hour, and then the crash history is 5 or more left turn crashes in a 12-month period. And we looked at this both for the existing conditions and under the 2030 conditions. And under the existing conditions, you can see out of the 5 criteria, none of them currently meet the criteria for a left turn. And for the proposed condition, we could only look at 3 because 2 of them are traffic conflicts and crashes, so we don't know what those are going to be in 2030. But the three criteria that we could look at, none of those meet the criteria for the left turn phase. So conclusions. So again, observations confirmed that there is a queuing issue during the morning arrival period. However, this issue is related more to the circulation issues within the Maple West Elementary School property and not delays at the intersection. The yellow and red clearance intervals show that the yellow clearance intervals are below standards and the all red either meet or exceed the standards. The crash analysis showed there's not a high number of left turn crashes at the intersection. The operational analysis showed that adding a left turn phase to the traffic signal would reduce the level of service at the intersection, with a number of movements also degrading in operation. The left turn phase warrant analysis shows that the criteria is not met for a left turn signal phase, even if the queuing issues in the school driveway were solved. And that's important to point out that this all assumes that there was really no queuing issue at that left turn, at that school driveway. So even if that was all resolved, we still would not meet the criteria for a left turn phase. And then the last thing I want to point out too is, even if the left turn phase was warranted, you're not going to get a benefit of that until the school driveway queuing issues are solved. Even if we had let's say today we could go out there and put a left turn phase in, nothing would improve there because left turn vehicles still cannot get into that driveway. So even if you put it in there, it's just going to make things worse overall, because again, we talked about we're taking green time away from the through vehicles, and that left turn phase really becomes a wasted phase because nobody can move. So in terms of recommended actions, we recommend updating the yellow clearance intervals to meet existing standards. Optimize the signal time in the intersection to make it operate a little better. And then also the final would be coordinate with the school district regarding their internal circulation issues and see what can be done there to improve the parent drop-off. And just in closing, I want to say we do a lot of work with school districts all over. We're doing work in Clarence now. We're doing work in Lancaster. We're trying to solve some of their circulation issues. And this is not a unique thing to this school. Every single school district has issues related to parent drop-off and pickup. And the main reason for that is these schools were built many years ago when everybody used to take the school bus to school. And, you know, ever since COVID hit, when things really kind of changed, we've noticed ever since COVID hit that this has become a huge issue all across New York State in terms of school circulation issues and parents picking kids up and dropping them off. So this is not unique to your community. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Before you go, change things up here a little bit. Any questions from anybody here on the board? And then Chris, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I will open things up for public comment. We have 3 individuals signed in this evening.
Here comes the
Say
first
Tim is signed in first. We have Julie and Angela. I'll let you guys kind of, I don't know if any one of you wants to go first. Normally you go the order sign in. Tim is signed in first. Is that Tim or is that, I'm sorry, is that Tina or Tim? From Chicago Street? Yep. That's you. Okay. So you're done. So then we have Julie that signed in.
Hello.
You just need to, sorry, I don't know if I said this or not. When you come up to the microphone, just state your name. The meeting is being recorded and is being streamed. So please just state your name and your address so that it's picked up for the recording and the minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Julie. I live on Culpeper Road. And I just wanted to start off by saying, you know, I appreciate the work that definitely went into this traffic study. However, I definitely remain in favor of implementing a protected left turn signal at this Maple Road and Own Lime Drive at Maple West Elementary School. While the report does attribute to a, you know, primarily an internal parking lot circulation issue at Maple West Elementary. The reality is that the backup does extend onto the public roadway and impacts the safety and operation of the intersection during peak morning arrival. Regardless of the source, the effort is occurring at the signal and creates congestion, confusion, and pressure for the drivers to make unsafe decisions. Additionally, one important issue that was not fully addressed, although it was lightly addressed, was that many drivers mistakenly believe that the westbound left turn lane at the school is also a turn lane to get into Tim Hortons coffee. There is no designated left turn lane for Tim Hortons, and because of this confusion, the lane is also used by both the school traffic and the drivers trying to get into Tim Hortons. This mixed use adds to congestion and contributes to backups that extend into the intersection during these morning hours. I will say my kids, the majority of the time, do take the bus. As a mom of 3, sometimes the mornings are chaotic and we do miss the bus. I can count on my hands and toes the number of times that I have almost hit a car trying to go into Tim Hortons that has used that lane to make that turn into Tim Hortons while I'm trying to turn onto Maple West. So regardless of whether the root cause begins in the parking lot, the impact is occurring on a public roadway that is at a signalized intersection serving an elementary school. A protected left turn phase, at least during peak times, would improve clarity, reduce conflicts, and enhance safety for the children, pedestrian, and drivers. Also, if you don't mind going to, I think it was like slide 3, where they had all like the cars backing up. Yeah, that one right there. So if you can see that this is also a huge public safety issue, because you can see that there are cars that are going into like the crosswalk of where students walk. So that is, as they stated, this is a high volume intersection. And I will leave it. Oh, I still have time. So yeah. All right. So obviously this is, as stated, it's a high volume intersection, and I would, there are obviously cars blocking the crosswalk there. So regardless of, there is systematic issues at this intersection that definitely need to be addressed. I would hate to see, as I get a reminder almost every day of an incident that happened at Maple East Elementary School with a child that unfortunately got hit by a car, and I fear that with the way things are and the increased volume that, we could potentially have something happen in this intersection as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then Angela?
Angela Marinucci, 258 Robin Hill Drive. I was the resident from last August, and Chris and I don't remember exactly when it was, but we got another resident email over this winter specifically about this intersection. There is ongoing Facebook discourse again and again about this left turn signal, and I fear your board will continue hearing from residents for years to come about this intersection. Not an engineer, lawyer by training, so I have very little to say to change anything here, but what I would like everyone to note is that the increased population that we expect at Maple West over the next few years is going to continue to make this a huge problem. I know Julie mentioned the Tim Hortons. What I'd also like to say is, my kids got 1 year left here, so I won't think about this left turn as much nearly afterwards, but the teachers there have been talking about it for years, as do we frequently hear at the PTA meetings, again, Facebook, emails to ourselves. It's a problem. We're working with the school. We're trying to get it figured out on the inside, but the safety of the overall intersection is a big fear of mine. We have fantastic crossing guards. They're really nice. They block it off on the one side, but you do have to cross. You see there's no there's no crossing on the where you'd make the left turn, so you have to cross those streets where people do back up into the traffic when we go. It is typically in the morning intersection. There was a second accident in September after the one that I had cited originally, saying to Chris, like, can this please get reviewed? That accident in September, the students there we're talking about our most vulnerable, our youngest children. The kids are seeing that. They're aware of what goes on there. They're aware of the lack of safety. And it's a problem. So I thank you, one, for your work last August and even considering doing the traffic safety. I thank Chris for making this happen with the study and for the great work by Fisher. But this intersection is going to continue being a problem for years and years to come. And you're going to hear from lots of elementary parents who do or don't drive their kids here, who tell you about the buses who back up and the buses who turn when it turns red and what it does across Maple. We are a 9 a.m. start time at our school, so drop-off runs from 8:35 to 8:55, which is peak driving time. It does work really well for parents who are on their way downtown and can drop their kids off on the way, and so you are going to see this continuing. So I thank you for your hard work on this. I thank you for reviewing it in 2023, which I think is the last time you all reviewed it. I thank you for 10 years ago when you did the traffic study. I appreciate everything that went into this. At least I can say I tried, but that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item? We'll just need you to sign in after you. It's up here. We had already taken it away. You can speak and then we'll get it to you.
Yeah, Dan Baker, 2521 North French Road.
Pull the mic up a little bit.
All right.
Okay.
Dan Baker, 2521 North French Road. A curiosity and question as to what's the average speed now over the last 3 years on Maple Road and how that might impact this intersection. Furthermore, and we call it a motherhood of safety. How are you going to prevent or stymie the accidents further from this rather than just stopping a left-hand lane turn? What about crossing signals and crossing crosswalks, period?
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this agenda item this evening? None being heard or seen, we'll open it up here for the board for discussion.
Tim, do you want to respond to any of the comments that you heard tonight? I guess you could start any way you want.
Yeah, I can, I mean, I concur with the comment that the Tim Hortons driveway does cause confusion at this intersection. I personally sat out at this intersection for like 20 or 25 minutes and kind of watched how the interaction was between the left turn lane and the left turn into Tim Hortons, and it's not an ideal condition. And I agree, there are people that do try to get into that left turn lane to turn left into Hortons. I don't, short of closing that driveway off and making people get into and out of off of Old Line Drive, I think that's really nothing else you can do about that. Or making that driveway a right in, right out, and force them and make people that want to get into the driveway that are going east on Maple Drive to turn into Old Lyme Drive to get into Tim Hortons. There's really nothing else you can do there. Because as of 40 years in the traffic engineering business, people with a car will pretty much do whatever they want, and really not pay attention to either the road markings or what's out there. They just see what they think is a two-way left turn lane, so they think they can just jump into it to make a left turn. So even though it's not, at that point, it's not there, that's not what it's there for. It's the left turn into the Maple West Elementary School. In terms of blocking the school crosswalk, yeah, I mean, it occurs, and that's a function of the internal circulation issues of the school itself. Again, I mean, it's, general traffic knowledge that you're not supposed to sit in a crosswalk. But people that get impatient, either turning left into the school or right into the school, they're going to jump in that lane as soon as they can. That's what the video showed. That's what our observation showed. That and that driveway does get blocked by people wanting to get into the queue lane. I think there's a feeling that if you're sitting in that right turn lane, and all of a sudden there is just a little gap at the corner, that people will jump into that gap. Doesn't matter where they sit within that intersection. Some of them have their back end actually out into the travel lane itself. So again, that's the drivers being impatient, and I get it. I had 5 kids at school. I used to drop my kids off at school, and school drop off is one of the worst things in the world because you're rushing to work. You talked about it. Maybe there's a bad morning. You're running late. You just want to get in and out as fast as you can. So, I mean, some of it is an opportunity for education of the parents. And when we work with schools that have these types of issues, that's one of the first things we talk about is parent education. What are the rules? What should you be doing out there? If you're dropping your kid off at school, you're not to be blocking the crosswalks. That is a safety issue. And that's how you kind of present it to them. By not doing that, you're improving the safety of this intersection, especially for the most vulnerable people that are out there. So yes, you get impatient, and they just have to understand that it's an education thing with the parents, and until this issue with the school drop off gets solved, it's really parent education at this point. There's nothing from an engineering standpoint that we can do about that. It's kind of reinforcing, other than maybe the police sitting out there one day and, warning drivers, hey, you're blocking a crosswalk. That's illegal. Here's your warning, but that's not good use of police resources. But yeah, I would agree that, but it's really parent education. In terms of the, I think that about hit, so, as we discussed before, if the queuing issue went away within the school, you would not see the queuing that backs up onto the 6 or 7 cars backing up onto Maple Drive or Maple Road in that queue lane. You would see a lot smoother traffic. I mean, if you look at the afternoon or during the afternoon pickup, that queue only is like 2 or 3 cars because there's no cars waiting in line backing up. That left turn moves smoothly all day long, other than that short half-hour time period between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. But I think if you resolve that queuing issue within the school itself, you would see a lot better operation there. And I don't think you would have the issues that you have now.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see any reference to first responders' time to access the school. Talking about police, ambulance, and fire. Okay, no mention of that in the report. I, for one, went over and sat in the school parking lot at 7 o'clock one morning and stayed there for a couple hours. And I observed the traffic. And I was hoping that this study, waited months for this study, and I was hoping there would be some modeling of more school buses and less parent drop-offs to see what effect that had on your numbers. Is that another phase of this study, or?
That's not currently within the scope of this work right now. I think that is, I think it's more incumbent upon the school to figure out exactly how they can resolve their drop-off issues.
Yes, jurisdictionally, we're responsible for the intersection. School district is responsible for the internal property and how they circulate their vehicles. We would never conduct a study on private property or another jurisdiction's property.
I
So
mean,
while that would be beneficial, it would be the responsibility of the school to undertake that study. And they may have already,
I mean, we do know that there are roughly 180 cars that either turn left or right into the school during that morning. So there are a significant amount of, if there's, I don't know how many buses there are, but if it's only maybe, if the most, maybe 10. So there's like 170 parents dropping their kids off, which is a lot, so yeah, I'm all for getting kids back on the school buses or walking or biking. Obviously, you can't really do that during the winter, but, that would solve a lot of the issues of all the schools across the United States or all across New York State. But that's the very hard thing to legislate, how you get your kids to school.
Well, transportation projects, capital investment in transportation projects isn't based on improving things for a half hour a day. Okay, so that will never happen
Correct.
with any kind of state or federal funds. It's just, you're not doing enough of an improvement. Now, I said that I observed the traffic and the school buses. Several of the school buses that service that school are carrying a few students, 3 students, 6, 9. A couple of them were full.
Yes. And from what I understand under New York State law is schools have to have enough bus capacity to empty a school if need be in an emergency. That's why you see maybe, let's say, 15 buses and maybe there's 5 kids on each of those buses and maybe one bus has 30. People say, well, why don't we just use less buses? That's the reason why you can't use less buses. That's what I've been told by various school districts. When we talk about school bus consolidation and stuff like that, they say, we know we need that many buses because of New York State law.
So, sorry, are you done? Okay. So I just want to say here that we're looking at this particular instance and we're looking at one school district. We're looking at one school within the district. So there are challenges that are unique to this school. This school has a traffic signal and we have intercirculation problems. We know we have circulation problems probably at all of the Williamsville schools if you were to look at them. This, in my opinion, hearing the study that was provided, there is a traffic signal that is there. It may not be the best situation, but changing the traffic signal that's there and adding a turning phase isn't going to make the improvement that everybody's looking for to be the miracle cure-all that's going to resolve the issues. If you go down the road on Maple Road and you went to Maple East and you observe the traffic conditions that are in front of that school while school is coming in, they have no traffic signal. You have buses that are queued up in the middle turning lane with cars pulling in and out of the school with no protection whatsoever of a traffic light while we're going in there. So we're starting to solve an issue or trying to address an issue that is unique to one building, but we have other issues on Maple Road related to this school because there's no traffic signal, right? So what we're not going to be able to solve everything and optimize everything. If you want to go a step further and you want to observe what goes on with the traffic signal when it has a protected turn phase going into the traffic school, go to Transit Road and look at Transit Middle School between 3:25 p.m. and 3:50 p.m. It has a protected left turn lane for cars to go into that parking lot. None of the cars are moving because all the parents are waiting to pick up, and you'll see cars stacked up right down the middle of Transit Road of cars waiting to make the left-hand turn, to the point where I've been there and there's a person from the school that's standing out in front of the school waving parents to basically get out of the road to go to the Zoe parking lot across the street or go somewhere down the street to Excelsior so that they can make a right-hand turn into the school and hold there because they can't get the buses in or out of the school because of what's going on. And there's a left turn arrow there. The left turn arrow isn't going to solve the problem at this particular school from the study that we have. At the end of the day, the problem that we have is the circulation in the schools, a very tight window with a lot of kids, high density, and unfortunately, you're never going to solve the problem unless you have a sea of asphalt around every single school where you can stack 500 cars for, plus all the teachers to get the kids in and out of the school in the time frame that you're trying to do that. You can also go, we've had multiple times, I think probably in the last 2 years, where we've actually put in now a turning hawk, not the turning hawk, but a hawk signal on Paradise Road because of the issues that RFRB, right, not a hawk, the RFRB, in front of Williamsville East High School because of the traffic issues that we have in front of that school with people coming in and out and pedestrian crossings. So I think everybody at the end of the day realizes that, yes, there's a problem with this particular school and safety related to it, but it's not a problem that is unique to just this school. It's a problem that exists at all schools with the capacities of the schools, the parents coming in and out of the school. We've taken the efforts to do the study on this to see if something could be done at this particular signal. The study shows that it may actually even make it worse. So at this point, I would say move to, I don't think receive and file is the correct answer because this is a draft presentation, but from the perspective of this board, this would go to the engineering department and the town board if any further action would be taken. But I think the town board and engineering department is going to rely on the traffic study that's been conducted. That's going to say there's going to be no improvement or a possible reduction of service at this intersection should anything additional be done other than optimizing the timing, which may make a slight improvement. So I'll just leave it to this board at that point if there's any other comments, questions.
Back in August, didn't I hear you say that that there's a teacher that like either was directed to or took the initiative to get out there and start moving traffic around? Did that help? So
like when they pull in right there and you turn, sorry, I don't know my right from my left, problem with my brain. If you turn right there, they go straight across. What we need to do is draw a hard right and move the cars around the back. So like right there, which I've spoken to the principal about, we have to go to the superintendent about, that will add more space for more cars to get in so they come in. So Mr. Worthington, amazing. He stands like, Chris, you move your, yep, right there. He stands right there and directs so the buses can get in and out and the cars can keep moving. And he's yelling constantly. So it makes it flow better, but there's a lot of cars.
So what we need are signs or something directing cars to do what Mr. Worthington is directing cars to do.
So he's directing them in. Right now, the traffic pattern doesn't make the hard
Okay.
right.
If the school district was suggested to put a sign there that does what he does, would that solve a lot of the problem?
There's too many cars.
So now we come to Dan's issue of, it seems as though the buses are being underutilized. And Tim has said this is due to COVID. Ever since COVID,
You're fine.
ever since COVID, people have been, I don't want to say spoiled,
But they have, yes.
but people have been using the buses because that's what they got in the habit of doing. Is there some sort of initiative, some sort of orientation thing when the parents come to school in September to get oriented? To say, parents,
The PTA, vice president of PTA, we're there the whole week. We talk about this. The reason the traffic pattern inside hasn't been changed is because the teachers park in that little back section, which would allow us to put more cars in there. People are going to drive their kids. They do what they want to do. I mean,
And I think that's,
yeah.
the issues that exist here at the school are the configuration in the parking lot. Parents are gonna drive their kids, and at the end of the day, when we look at all of this, the traffic signal isn't the problem. The problem, the number of times this intersection has come to our attention is because of Tim Hortons more than it is because of the school, and the issues are inside the traffic loop of the school trying to use the signal as a way to help control some of those issues that exist with the inner loop. And We've actually gone and helped to try to redesign Tim Hortons
Yeah.
parking lot, and
Yeah, like 3 comments on this. First of all, the altering Tim Hortons is a problem, right? So I mean, it would fundamentally change the site plan that they originally agreed to. So we can ask, but it's always been tricky to get that. The second thing is I'm not opposed to striping the other side just so kids don't have to cross I don't know why that would be a problem, but there is an issue with a crossing. Wouldn't you need an extra crossing guard then? Because
you would need an extra crossing guard, and then you would also have, right now with the crossing the way that it is, cars can make the left-hand turn while people are crossing, where you would have a conflict then with the crossing and the left-hand turn.
and then
Across, they can't make the left
Yeah,
turn
and
because they
yes,
have the
That's-
red light, yeah.
And then the other issue is I don't even remember one of the other elementary schools. It might have been Smallwood. I feel like it usually is. When we're trying to do an initiative with get more kids to ride the bus, and we had multiple parents come in and say you could make it a state law, and I'm not going to drop my 5-year-old off, for like further away. And so there really isn't much we can do about that aspect of things. And that, the crux of the issue, of course, is more people want to drive their kids. You can't stop that. There's nothing like, and that's a concern.
Facilities aren't
I've
there.
got a high energy kid right now, and she would be screamed at for 40 minutes on the bus the entire way to school, and I don't want her day to start that way.
Yeah,
And I know that, and know who she is, and I love her dearly, and I love everything about her, but she would drive a bus driver crazy, and her ride is 30 to 40 minutes to get to school because of all the stops.
So I think the best plan of action, I agree, like at this point we have extensive amounts of engineering studies showing that it's not, I think the best plan of action is, even though it wouldn't fix the problem with the redirection of traffic internally, it might alleviate it a little bit. So the best plan of action is probably just send something to the school and being like, same thing we've done to the other school districts, like, please, let's put the tiny cones on the ground. And it's not perfect, but
I appreciate even the effort and time that you guys are giving to this, and
We can't do anything. It's a school. If it's happening inside the school, we can't do anything.
which to me, I think I should just pave it all, is what it sounded like, so I could just fit more cars. I'm kidding.
Yes, or another driveway.
Another-
Right-hand turns only.
Well, we don't know what that other driveway is right there that never made it out to the street, because if that could be an exit lane and we could get 2 lanes going in, it would be significantly better, but that's neither here nor there. Chris, I don't know if you know why that's there.
I don't.
No one knows, and it doesn't go all the way out to the street.
That was there before they did the parking lot renovation, but I
Oh.
don't know why it was.
Yeah, so because that's the other thing that we've talked about, we being the parents, not like anybody official, is like, why can't we finish that out, exit, and make the other one an internal lane? Because then you'll get 2 lanes coming in. But neither here nor there for this. This is
I
school
would
district
think there's
property.
theaters. There's an idea that might get something done.
Yeah.
So one other thing that I think would potentially change the traffic patterns at the school goes into the start times that were reviewed by the Williamsville School District. This is one of 2 elementary schools that's a late start.
Yep.
Looking at that, the number of people that are dropping off in the morning versus picking up in the afternoon, I would attribute a large portion of that is probably due to the late start, with parents that are staying home to take their kids to school, then trying to drive to work.
And then we don't
Something-
have to pay for childcare in the morning
you
for
don't
our
have to pay for-
elementary children,
Yes.
which is, for me, I was one of the parent volunteers on the late start study. Had no idea how people were going to freak out about, not say freak out, I don't know if that's disrespectful, about later start, because I think high schools should start later and elementary should start earlier, but yeah, that got killed real fast. Parents were not happy.
But I think that's something that's going to continue to come up within the district, and new guidelines coming from New York State, that if there was something that had this school
All the
starting,
studies show it makes sense for older kids to start later and for younger kids to start earlier. We don't.
yeah, but I think that is another thing that could play an impact in the traffic patterns at the school. If the school was starting earlier, I think you may see more kids on the bus and fewer kids being driven into school in the morning.
Likely, I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this particular item? If not, thank you, Tim, for attending this evening. If you want to stay and listen to Site Plan A, you're more than welcome, or you're welcome to leave as well.
Thank you very much.
With that, we will close item number 3 on the agenda. Like I said, we normally go through all of the agenda items before moving into site plan, since we do have a large contingent of people here this evening for Site Plan A, and we can't vote on any other items this evening. We will move to Site Plan A. to knock that one out for you so that you don't have to listen to everything else here on the agenda, even though I know some people, might miss sitting up here listening to all of these things and other items. So with that, Chris, I'll turn it over to you for site plan A, or is it going to be Scott?
Scott is prepared to do that. And I can pull up the site plan.
Site plan, hey, what's the church? Hmm.
The funniest transit middle school.
Just as a reminder to the board, this site plan did come to the attention of the Traffic Safety Board once before. At that time, you asked that additional pedestrian accommodations be made in the form of sidewalks totally going around the property. They have come back with the latest revision, which is on your screen, showing that it says future. Oh, is this the wrong one? Might have pulled the wrong one.
I think that's.
Scott, do you recall if they're showing it? I think they are showing it.
They're required to put the sidewalk.
Yeah, let me, I think I pulled the wrong, I think I pulled the wrong one.
Yeah.
All right, while I'm pulling it up,
About
you
a
want to go over an
20,000
introduction?
square foot religious facility.
Can you go on a mic?
I think so. I don't think I can get much closer to it.
So it's site.
Well, it's 20,000 square foot religious facility with vehicular access to Hopkins. Planning board did, my recollection's correct, deny their sidewalk waiver request, so they will have to put sidewalks in on both North French and Hopkins. I don't think I could talk any louder into this thing. Is it working?
You can use that end microphone if you want to come to the table. You can act like you remember.
Is this better? It's got to be the mic. Well, back to what it is. It's a 20,000 square foot religious facility, vehicular access to Hopkins Road. The planning board did deny their request for the sidewalk waiver, so they will have to install sidewalks on both North French and Hopkins Road. Planning board denied their requested waiver.
You gotta put in a
We
sidewalk.
got to put in the sidewalk.
They have to put sidewalks in. And that's pretty much, what we're looking at.
Okay. Is that the best plan you have, Chris?
That's the latest one on the website. I have a different one in paper.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. I bet. There it is. So in your package were some residential letters with concerns related to the traffic impacts related to Hopkins Road as well as North French, turns going into it, as well as, potential for overflow parking. So that's what much of the, residents here today will likely speak about. There was nothing in terms of the site plan application that prompted a traffic impact study. They were showing a peak PM peak of 35 vehicles coming to this place of worship. So that does not trigger a full traffic impact study.
So Scott, the seating capacity of the worship site what are the requirements for parking spots based on seating capacity?
It's based on occupancy load,
Okay.
largely because, one, there's no seats in here.
Okay. So occupancy load, do they have enough parking spots on site for the size of the building? I know this isn't in our purview. So this board does not weigh in on the number of parking spots.
That is the purview of
That's the planning board.
actually, the zoning enforcement officer. is they can provide him a alternative parking plan.
Okay.
One of the reasons, and I think they need like about double the parking that's shown on the site plan. But when they do the analysis, they have to base upon every facet of the building occurring at the same time, which we all know that from our own religious facilities, that you don't have somebody typically in meeting rooms while you have a service going on, and somebody in the, cafeteria or whatever when service is going on, and
Correct.
so that's what they'll probably, if they haven't already, base their alternative parking plan on is, hey, we're only doing this one thing at one time.
Okay. So there is an alternative parking plan from them as part of this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the zoning enforcement officer has reviewed it yet.
Okay. Any other thing, Chris, Scott, to share with us, or no? We'll open it up. We'll open it up for public comment. First person we have signed in is Mark Backhart.
Mark Basehart, 2365 North French Road. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Truly do appreciate it. On November 7th, 2025, nearby residents received notice of a November 20th public hearing regarding a proposed site development plan for 2345 North French Road, a 6,500 square foot place of worship replacing the existing 1,600 square foot single-story home. The plan includes 36 parking spaces, 2 of which are handicapped, and architectural elements reaching up to 4 stories. While neighbors have concerns about zoning, tax status, wetlands, and neighborhood character, I'll focus strictly on traffic safety and flow. The North French and Hopkins corridor is a dense residential area. Within a quarter mile of this intersection, there are more than 550 homes, plus a 162-unit apartment complex currently under construction at Millersport and North French. This is already a heavily traveled east-west connection between the 990 and Transit Road, and is frequently used by emergency vehicles. You can just ask my Siberian Husky, who howls at every siren. The proposed driveway entrance on Hopkins would create significant turning conflicts. Vehicles traveling north on Hopkins would need to turn left across southbound traffic. Vehicles coming from either direction on North French would need to turn onto Hopkins and then make a left into the driveway, again crossing oncoming traffic. The only unobstructed entrance would be for vehicles traveling northbound from the south. Exit patterns would compound these same conflicts. Sight lines at the driveway and intersections are already very tight, and there is an existing residential driveway directly across from the proposed entrance, further increasing risk. With 36 parking spaces supporting well over 100 attendees, each gathering, worship, cultural, and community, would generate concentrated pulse traffic on a single-lane residential road. This raises concerns about congestion, school zone flow, emergency access, and overflow parking on county roads onto North French and Hopkins. Additionally, the property currently functions as headquarters for a trucking company, DK Trucking, Inc., with semi-trucks occasionally parked on the site. Any continued non-religious use would further intensify traffic and safety concerns. This is not about opposing a place of worship. It is about whether the specific location, with its existing density, traffic volume, and intersection constraints, can safely accommodate the scale and the intensity of this proposal. For these reasons, we respectfully ask the board to carefully evaluate the traffic impacts and safety risks associated with the site plan. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Just me.
Got it right in. Herschel signed in next. Oh, sorry, you're not signing. I signed. Dan, you're. Nope, I got you already on here speaking and marked you for both items.
Thank you. Dan Baker, 2521 North French Road. Chris, I'm a little concerned when your comment was that there was nothing that would substantiate a further traffic study. And I understand that the documents, the drawings would show an occupancy of something less than 100 patrons, which would substantiate 36 parking spaces given a 3 occupant carload. But when we look at the layout and the available space, we come up with an occupancy of better than 200 people. And that's given Amherst Town Code, for want of a better expression, typical analysis, right? 7 people per square foot, 15 people per square foot if they're in chairs, or 6 people per square foot if they're in wheelchairs. I don't know what it is, I'm not an engineer. The point is, it's 200 people is the occupancy of this place. Twice the parking spots that they would have, given a reasonable car load of 3 occupants per car. Now, going back to the previous study on traffic and the quality of the study on traffic. A reasonable traffic study would show the volumes of traffic on Hopkins and North French for the last 3 or 4 years. Correct? And how would 300 cars impact that traffic flow? It wouldn't, right? How would it impact that traffic flow given 300 people in that sanctuary, exiting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or more so at 8 o'clock in the morning, because the Sikh population likes to have their religious events, however you describe it, before dawn? And how does that impact the school buses? How does that impact the pedestrians and the people walking past it? Without a traffic study, you're nowhere, right? Furthermore, presuming that they have a backup parking plan in North High School or wherever, how does that impact North French and parking on the street and parking on Hopkins Road? There is no provision for parking on those roads. They're high-speed roads. They're minimum 35, like we're talking about Maple Road. It's a speed limit of 40 with people doing 50 miles an hour across those intersections, right? There's no left turn provisions, all that kind of stuff. There's no curbs, nothing. So I suggest to you that we revisit the traffic study, a thorough traffic study. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak on this item this evening? I knew you couldn't stay quiet. Already done.
Okay, draft to Herschel Gelber, 2140 Hopkins Road. The only thing I wanted to stress is I'm supporting a traffic study, the impact study. The reason being is you've got 1 lane going north, 1 lane going south on Hopkins Road. You've got a left turn designated lane. But the issue is, and by the way, as I understand, their services are twice a day, every day, and then on Sundays throughout the entire day, their services. But if you're coming down North French and you're going in what would be west to east, you've got a designated right-hand turn lane, and there's an advance to turn right on red, and then you've got the left designated turn lane, and there's 1 through lane there. So cars are going to be turning right onto what would be southbound Hopkins, And then you've got a left turn going from Hopkins into the parking lot, a left turn coming out of the parking lot onto Hopkins to go southbound. And that's the only entrance and exit to this proposed worship location. And then you've got the other issues being cars coming on what would be an east going west, making a left-hand turn onto Hopkins, and then you're faced with stopped cars trying to go into the house of worship. So, and again, Hopkins is 40 mph in that area. So I just think that the logical thing would be to do a traffic study to see how you're going to impede traffic on Hopkins Road going both south and north when you've got cars exiting the parking lot, making a left-hand turn onto Hopkins, and cars making a left-hand turn from Hopkins to enter the house of worship. I didn't take my time. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Oh, we've got more.
Beverly Baker, 2520 North French Road. I don't have any notes or anything. I wasn't prepared to speak, but I would fully support a traffic study because North French is a very, very busy road. We live right on it. In the morning, we can't even make a left-hand turn out of our driveway because the traffic is so heavy. We have to go to the right and come around and get on the 990 and Autobahn. Excuse me. So, and I also see a lot of kids going to North High School riding their bikes up and down there. There's no sidewalks. There's no real parking lane on the side of North French or Hopkins, but you know people will be parking in them. Because if you have a party, people park on the road. And if you have people parking on the road for 500 feet down Hopkins Road or down North French, you're going to occlude the vision for making these turns off of either one of those streets and make it very dangerous for the children that are going to school. There's Dodge School, there's North High School, and it's just one lane going each way. It's just not a good place to put a building of this size that can hold this many people and expect that 35 parking spots are going to cut it. It's just, I don't see how they could possibly work or how the town would have considered it in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure my comments are relevant or not, but
Can you just state your name and address?
Rich Wainwright, I live on Hopkins Road. And I agree with the traffic studies from the previous speakers. I agree with everything that they said. But I just have a couple comments, whether relevant or not relevant. I would like to make a point of them. This home was purchased in 2004. In 2010, it was foreclosed on for not paying any taxes. The same original owner somehow got that property back and was given a religious exemption, and so hasn't paid property taxes since 2010. Now, if I can hang Christmas lights on my house and just get a religious exemption, I'll invite any one of you over and we can say a prayer. It's just so I don't have to pay taxes. These guys did it. But now you're calling it a place of worship. But as far as I understand, that's not approved yet. They only gave them a religious exemption now, so they don't have to pay taxes. Now, that's a little unfair for the rest of us that all pay our taxes. So although we agree with all the traffic studies and we don't disagree with a worship center, but not here. The corner just it's not right. I think we should tell these people to possibly look at Cross Point, look at Transit Road, look up Millersport Highway, look at another location that's more suitable for a building of this structure and where they can put enough parking, where they can put a building of that magnitude. This, in a residential area, I think we should tell them, look somewhere else. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? None being heard or seen, we will close the public comment period, and I will just address the last person that spoke. Unfortunately, we have nothing to do with that. That's not our call. Yes, so we are here to look at it from the traffic standpoint. Chris and Scott, I'll just ask, we also don't set what the parameters are as to when a traffic study is required or not. That's all set by the town based on the size of the development, I believe.
Well, the traffic board always has the ability to request a traffic impact study regardless of what the count is. You're an advisory board, you can ask for it if you'd like. Nothing says you can't. Yeah. Whether or not, the planning board will make that a condition of approval, that's up to them. But, sorry, my mic went out. So you may ask for it. They're showing 35 trips. If this was a DOT signal, DOT intersection, they would say absolutely not, and didn't hit the 100, not necessary. But you do have the flexibility of asking for one whenever you need to.
So that traffic study, if it would be conducted, would be based on the site plan of the 35 parking spots, though, not the.
No.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Yeah, it's going to be based on land use, square footage. It's however ITE, it's the Institute of Transportation Engineers, dictates how to measure the impacts for a religious institution.
Did we mention that it was, did they say it was 4 stories? Did I, what?
Four stories? Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say.
We're
'cause,
talking
yeah, I can't
peaks.
imagine that not triggering. I personally don't have a problem asking for a traffic study, but I think that's something that unfortunately would have to be put up to a vote unless I'm wrong.
With the
Can't
land use,
technically do today.
No, it's a site plan. Voting doesn't apply. We can ask.
I have no problem
the
with
land
asking for
use-
one.
It doesn't have to go to the town board.
It just sounds like I get it that gut feeling is not a good reason to ask for a site plan, but it does feel like something that's going to have a higher traffic just flow than 35 spots would allow.
So my other question that I have here, though, is the site plan as it's drawn right now does not, the current property has a driveway onto North French. Is that being shut down? And Hopkins, is that driveway being closed because DOT said it needs to be closed, or it's just the way the site plan is drawn?
North French is a county highway.
The county? I thought that was DOT.
Yeah, both are county highways.
They're both
And
county.
by the way, the county is also an agency that would review the site plan, and they could always ask for additional information, like a traffic impact study. They can provide comment related to the location of the curb cuts. It's under their permit to allow for a curb cut location. It's ultimately up to them to issue that approval. So.
Yes, this was transmitted to Erie County DPW Highways Division for review. Their standards are typically one access, and that being off of the lower volume roadway, which is Hopkins.
Right.
So the county will most likely be in favor of removing the curb cut onto North French.
More than likely.
Okay.
Yes, there was discussion early on with myself and the transportation engineer of the county on which road would serve better for a single curb cut. And it was, we concluded that Hopkins would be, but ultimately it's up to the petitioner to come in with a solution and then us to review it.
Excuse me, Dan, or Chris, sorry to interrupt. At the last planning meeting with Sean and Dan Howard, they said the site plan approval was subject to a thorough traffic study and parking study. I'm just curious how there's a disconnect there.
I don't know. I'm definitely parking. I don't know if they said traffic impact study. I'd have to
I don't remember
talk to the
traffic
planning
impacts
department
study.
about that.
Fair enough.
Like I said, the parking analysis, the alternative parking plan, parking study, just for those people. Yeah,
So that was asked for already.
Yeah.
I'm not,
would a traffic study involve a review based on the projected times of use of this facility? I heard someone say it's planned on being used 2 times a day.
I mean,
And on Sundays too? I mean, if you're gonna do a traffic study, you would be looking at the prime usage times, wouldn't you?
yeah,
It's just like the traffic study we went through with item 3. You know, we looked at dismissal and arrival. You know, that's the prudent thing to do when you do a traffic impact study, to see the most, you know,
If you have a
impactful hours.
facility that has something of that
So-
nature. where
Yes.
so just for the,
stops.
for the five individuals that are here,
That's enough of this.
so we've actually, I understand that everybody wants to speak, but we had a public comment period, but we opened it up and we asked if anybody else wanted to speak. We're trying to have a conversation. We will ask if there's questions to speak. We've got to work through some of the issues up here for us to work through this right now. So the question that I'm asking of the board at this particular point, my concern is, if you look at the traffic counts that you have on North French Road and you look at Hopkins Road and the traffic counts that we know are going to be there when a traffic study is done, and you look at the development site and the number of trips that it's going to create, my gut tells me from other traffic studies that we've seen, it's going to be negligible. It's not going to be of a significant value and a significant number. And we're looking for the traffic study to basically say that the site doesn't work for what they're trying to develop. The traffic study is not going to say that. The traffic study is going to look at the traffic counts, different items that are going to be there. And when you have a road like North French that has thousands of cars on it a day and you add 200 cars to it, it's not going to change anything. So it's going to come back in the traffic study. When you look at the number of trips and the number of cars, it's basically going to say that the road structure that's in that particular area can handle 200 more cars. If it's 200 people in the building, it's 100 cars, right? It's not going to make that much of a difference. It may actually hurt you more than it helps you, to be honest with you. But from that point, I don't know enough about the traffic study and what's going to show. It's ultimately up to the planning board if we ask for it, if the planning board is going to put it as a site condition to do it. From that regard, I don't have any objection of this board asking and recommending that a full traffic study be conducted, but I don't think a traffic study is going to give the results that anybody's looking for from the public. It's going to basically say, yes, the road infrastructure that's there can handle 200 more cars for the site.
Absolutely agree. The problem is, what's going to happen in 10 years from now when the congregation grows from 100 to 500?
That's not going to show in the traffic study. It's not going to show. It's not going to be there. I mean, ultimately, what this boils down to is this is a land use issue. This is the site design, a plan design, and relates to the number of parking spots on the site. I'll agree with you all day long. The building is the site is too small for what's trying to be put on it. But from a traffic perspective of what's in this board's purview, everything that we're asking for is kind of outside the scope of this board. That's kind of where I'm stuck as we review this. Number of parking spots that are there, alternative parking arrangement. That's all with the planning board. That's with the zoning board. That's with the zoning department. That's all land use issues. When you look at the site plan itself, you look at what is in our purview to look at. Yeah, we want sidewalks around the property. We might want to confirm that the curb cut is in the right spot with the county, which is already being done by Chris as part of the site flow. Number of parking spots. We don't have any say on that. They could put one parking spot on the spot. That's not for us to decide. We look at it from a traffic impact. I would agree with everything you said. The conflicts that you have with where the driveway is with the right turns and the left turns, but you're looking at 35 cars pulling in there over a short time. We just looked at the school. We've got turning conflicts all the time. They're going to happen. So that's where I'm stuck. But yeah, I would support, if the ask is from the public, to ask for the planning board to request as a condition of approval a full traffic study. Sure, I'm not going to object to it.
I agree simply on the grounds of, like, it's traffic safety board. It would be our correct due diligence to make sure that a study would show that it's a safe manner, right? I have no problem with asking for a traffic study.
That's the problem. The traffic study is going to say, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, let's do it.
That's for it to show.
I move we do a traffic study on this site.
You can't move.
We can't move. We can't vote. It's just a site plan. So to the 5 members that are here, do we all agree that we would like to see a traffic study done based on what's being proposed? Is there anyone that's objecting?
So let's see what's the next meeting, we can actually vote on it.
I don't think it's not vote needed.
It's a site plan, so we're just going to put in the notes in the referral over to the planning board that we would like to see a condition of a full site plan. I'm sorry, of a traffic, a TIS, a traffic impact study for the site plan.
I would like to know where the overflow parking is going to park.
Yeah, I mean, me
That doesn't
too.
matter, that's not our problem.
Well,
I mean,
The one thing that well, no, it's not our, that's where they have the alternate parking isn't a problem. The only thing that would be of concern to me is what's the vehicle that's bringing them over to the site on that? And is there enough space for that vehicle to navigate the parking lots that they're with a bus or some other kind?
I think at the end of the day, we can have as much discourse as we like. I think we're in favor of.
Sure.
Got to use the mic.
Mike.
Stephanie Gilbert, 2140 Hopkins. All I was going to comment and to say is if you have a facility that's already requesting an overflow parking, lot or whatever, whatever they're required by the planning board or they requested, I don't know which direction it came in, but if they're talking about overflow parking, then they are concerned themselves they don't have sufficient parking to accommodate the congregation. So if that's the case, that's the only reason I was going to say I would ask that you support at least an inquiry or proposal for the traffic safety. My bigger concern is not on North French. It's on Hopkins going northbound. If you look where the turning lane is, that's going to be your big issue, is that being backed up potentially, because that is a road that doesn't have as many, the percentage of increase in traffic is going to be greater on Hopkins than it would be on North French. As you say, the traffic that flows North French is more cars, so a few extra cars don't matter. It will matter on North French, especially coming north, trying to make a left on Hopkins, traveling north, trying to make a left onto North French. And then again, the egress and ingress is the same spot there. So all we're requesting is that at least be, suggested. But again, the overflow parking is the thing that really got me.
So-
Not saying, our congregation is going to fit nicely with the parking spots here. There's that discussion. That is, I believe, a pending condition. They're waiting, I think, for the owners to submit something to do with the alternative
It's
parking.
an alternative parking plan. In this case, they have enough parking for the sanctuary. But as your church, my church, his church, they have other spaces in this building. The coffee, place where we get together afterwards and has coffee or donuts or whatever. That is not going on at the same time as the sanctuary is being occupied. It's the same 100 people moving to this part of the church.
I would disagree with you on that, because oftentimes I
That's
know in our
basically-
congregation, there's education going on for children very much exactly at the same time as the congregation. maybe
Yeah,
only
in that
during
case,
adult service.
but that's they have to present that to the zoning enforcement officer that when the service is going on, they have, Sunday school, for lack of a better term, in their case, going on at the same time, but we're not using this half of the building. But they've got to present that to us. We have to base the parking count on completely the building being full occupancy.
So,
One space per 3 seats,
so
So when it-
also,
or occupants.
so I just also want to point out that when it comes to the site plans, alternative parking arrangements are not uncommon, right? So
They're everywhere.
they're everywhere within the town. Site Plan B that's on this agenda tonight relates to Millard Fillmore Suburban Hospital and alternative parking arrangements that they have, right? We have a new project that's being built on Maple Road with the recreational facility. That has an alternative parking arrangement as well. So when you put these places in, and as part of the plans, there's multiple different alternative parking plans that go along with it. Those alternative parking plans are not part of our review. Our review is the actual site plan itself, where they're putting the cars, how the pedestrians are moving on that particular site. So,
Not to speak for everybody else, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, is we're
go
hoping.
ahead, interrupt, that's fine.
We're hoping that North French and Hopkins are not your alternate parking sites. That's all we're looking for.
I would say right now, there's nothing on those streets that stops somebody from parking there today.
Agreed.
No, this board, even if they wanted to tonight, if they could, if they had a 6-member, they could vote and say, well, we're going to restrict parking from, Hopkins on North French to Transit Road, send that to the town board.
Okay.
They
Good.
could do that. They could do the same thing on Hopkins. But they can't do it tonight because there's only 6 people.
Only
They
5.
need 6 people, but they only have 5.
That's the single biggest concern as far as we're concerned. Thank you.
So with that, any other comments on the actual site plan itself that's been presented to us that we would want to refer to, that we haven't already addressed on this site? We have the sidewalks added. Any other concerns on this particular site? I do have one concern that there's no pedestrian, the sidewalk that's on Hopkins. We have a sidewalk from the North French leading to the building, but we don't have pedestrian access from the sidewalk into the
By
building.
code, all they need is one. Is that correct, Scott?
Okay, so,
You could always ask for more.
Well, it doesn't, it actually kind of goes towards the corner.
right, so we have that one.
I don't know why the sidewalk stopped short of the property line, Scott.
Which should go to the property line.
Gotta go to the property.
I mean, if you put a
Is this the
crosswalk,
revision you sent us?
this is the latest one.
This is,
yes.
yeah, this is the latest. This is definitely the latest that we have. This is under review.
You sent us this one?
I don't remember.
You gotta get the latest.
This is the latest one. This is the one posted on the town's website from the latest upload on February 6th.
So then we ought to have that, so we action.
I don't even know if I gave it to you.
Any other comments on the site plan before we close this item?
So we're suggesting a traffic impact study?
So the recommendation that we're having is, what would it be, Chris? It's pending approval?
So typically, when you say I need a traffic impact study to do my proper review, it's normally a not reviewable because you don't have the information.
Okay. So is that the agreement from the five of us here that we want to mark it as not reviewable because it's lacking a traffic study? That's the recommendation we're making.
Is that how we do it?
Yep.
And then I've got a note to myself to speak to the county specific to Hopkins Road to see if they're in concurrence with that curb cut location. You know, if they are going to provide, make a condition related to, you know, southbound lefts. Do they want a dedicated left turn lane? I don't know how you'd fit it in, but are they going to comment on that? Are they reviewing it? I think that's helpful information to understand, and I'll track that down.
Okay. Any other comments on this? With that, we'll close site plan A. Thank you for attending this evening. We will move to new business on the agenda. Item number 1, Randwood Drive, Randwood North intersection, review of stop control and sight distance concerns. We have an open seat.
We're gonna take care of it tonight.
Yeah. We'll happily take him back.
All right, item 1 is in reference to Randwood Drive and Randwood North intersection. So this actually came to the town after the town board considered a nearby parking restriction at the request of this board, specific to South Wedge and Heim. You guys recommended a parking restriction at that public hearing. There was a resident present who was properly notified, who said, hey, you know, grab me in the hall. Do you look at other things? We got an issue. I said, sure, send me what you have. And that's the origin of this particular item. And there's what they're pointing out is that there's confusion related to traffic control at a residential intersection and approaching sight distance. And I'll get to that in a minute. So this is a stop sign configuration geometry and the counts all shown on one slide. Shown in blue are the two movements that the resident is bringing forth and is concerned about. With the stop sign controlling Randwood westbound, you've got free-flowing traffic from the southbound direction and the eastbound direction who are coming to the curve and turning at that location with limited sight distance according to the resident. That can create a confusion and conflict. So we had the highway department go out and collect counts. As you can see on the screen, the eastbound and westbound are the predominant movements, with 370 westbound and about 300 going eastbound. Although the major is being stopped, the minor is free-flowing at 42 vehicles per day. When looking at the crash history, there aren't any crashes in the last 5 years. We did a traffic all-way stop warn analysis, and that indicates that this does not meet the all-way stop criteria as established within the MUTCD. It's very far from it, in fact. We did a ball bank study. So those members that may be new to the board, this is where we have a device in the car to measure the curvature of the road to see, how far, it's actually the device is on the top right screen, how far that ball, it's almost like a curved level vial, banks up. And you take measurements, and what's been determined after we did this today, in fact, is that those curves could use a 25 mile per hour warning advisory sign that would accompany a W1-1 sign in both directions. Specific to warning of side roads, the book does allow you to combine the curve warning sign with a little, I don't know what you want to call this, but they call it a side road or W2-2 configuration to identify that, yes, that curve has a side road connecting to it. As such, the engineering department is suggesting to at least place curve advisory signs in the advanced direction with a subplaque of 25 miles per hour. With that, I'll pass it over to the board for discussion.
My sense is, actually, this is gonna be a little weird, those signs might, how shall I say it? Uglify the neighborhood. Sign pollution. My impression at this intersection was there's actually quite a bit of vision on all directions.
Yeah.
I had to put too fine a point on it. This could be a non-issue. There's no crashes. And the sign just might be ugly. Making more complaints about the signs than the problem that's being fixed.
I agree.
Just saying.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't just put the stop sign on the minor instead of the major?
T intersection.
Yeah, I think it's even though it's not the major, like it's kind of almost a T. It's like a weird offset where I feel like it would make a problem if you.
Right. If you look at the screen, you'd be stopping this leg, which is really awkward. The more natural T is this western leg, going into this curve, and perhaps that's why they signed it that way. But generally, it is a Y instead of a T. Another weird, oddly configured intersection.
Again, now we get to the issue of taking out stop signs.
We wouldn't build it that way today. With a, what's that?
What, take out the stop sign?
We don't have the right of way to do that, Scott.
I'm just going with, we have no crash history here. I don't think we have a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so
receive and file.
Receive and file.
Yeah, so what Scott is suggesting is you reconfigure that intersection under the current pavement limits to do what you kind of did over at Fairwoods and Frankhauser. That did have a crash history. And the highway department did take that on. I can bring that example up, but you could curb this down and engineer it into a T and then relocate the stop sign, but there's no guarantee that.
You got two driveways in the middle of that mess, though.
Yeah. You have to,
I think if we suggested something, those residents are going to come and.
I mean, the only thing we're really looking at is putting up two signs that aren't really gonna solve any problem.
I agree.
It's already not there. I move a receive and file. Oh, well, yeah, that's right, there's only 5 of us.
We can, right? We can,
I mean, no action is similar to receive and file.
what's that?
And no action by the board is similar to receive and file, or you can hold it till next meeting. It's up to you.
What happens if no action, does it disappear?
It disappears. I don't think we need to look at it again next month. We'll have come to the same conclusion. I would say no action to take. Close item number 1 and move to item number 2.
Right, so it's no action.
No action,
No action.
unless we want to hold to the next meeting.
Can't vote to hold.
We can't vote.
I don't think there's anything we would have voted on.
We're not voting on anything. We're not taking action on item number 1. Not recommending anything.
So just go.
We'll go to old business. Go away.
Can we move on to item number 2? This is New Road reconfiguration. So I guess we'll jump into it. The New Road was reconfigured by the county, and it's sometimes beneficial to look at before and after speed studies. We try to do this as much as we can. The before counts were taken in 2018. The after were taken shortly after construction in December 2025. We try to get it right before the winter, really cold months. We were able to squeeze it in. So here's what New Road looked like before the reconstruction. It was very minimal shoulders, 1 to 0 to 1 foot, had roadside ditches and 2 lanes. Also, this wasn't always a double yellow barrier. It sometimes had a passing zone, which I didn't show on here, but you can see it? Okay. So what it changed to was a much wider road with 6-foot shoulders and 3-foot gutters, concrete gutters. And I believe they eliminated all passing zones and stuck with the double yellow barrier center line. So generally, whenever you widen a road, you expect to see speeds increase. Before we jump into that, we don't have any crash comparison. We need a little more time to go by before we can pull that data. Specific to traffic volume, blue is showing after 2025 and red is 2018, and you see a reduction. So the overall average daily traffic dropped by 1,000. So that's not really normal. We think maybe that might have had to do with people adjusting their traffic patterns as a result of the construction, being that we counted this, just 2 months after the construction period. Maybe we need a little more time to pass before that goes back up to 4,500. But just note that reduction. Specific to speeds, in 2018, it ranged from 44 to 47 in terms of an 85th percentile. We have 45 across the board in 2025. So early indications are showing that no, speeds do not dramatically go up at this time. That concludes the before and after study.
Do we want to, I guess the question for the 5 of us here is, do we want to study this again to review it just for consideration of other designs that we have? Maybe look at this and have the town count it again during the summer months rather than in December after it's been open for a while. Traffic goes there to see if the speeds actually do hold to this, because this will become potentially a case study in the future for widening a road that actually shows widening the road reduces the speed, which is something that is abnormal. So it may just make sense to hold this particular item or kind of refer back to Chris to restudy it at a summer time frame in the July, August, after traffic potentially is reestablished, to see if the same result is seen. Or we can just move along.
I think that's a good idea to review it in 6 months, but let's pick a good time. Like, are there any schools nearby to maybe delay it until September? Is there anything like that going on there?
No, there's no schools in that area.
The same month.
That's a good idea.
2018 was in May.
Oh, that's bad.
I would recommend we wait till the fall. Let the summer traffic return with no construction on the street to see if traffic actually returns.
Yeah,
That road was a lot of times during construction shut down with one-way traffic that I think a lot of cars went alternative ways, and once they realize it's open again, they will return.
It's come time to return. 6 months, 7 months, a year? What's
Well, we could do the fall of 26. Captain, do you have any? I was going to say, hold that thought. Have you seen any changes out there in terms of, traffic enforcement or?
So we're out there. It's a constant problem area for us. We get plenty of civilian complaints. We're out there frequently. We haven't noticed any, increase in speeds. It's always a problem.
Okay. And
As far as volume goes, the guys have reported that it's been less volume, but they might not be.
The study doesn't match what we're expecting.
That's exactly right.
What were you going to ask, Al?
yeah, I think I got your question. Be going.
Phase 2 to this project, which is everything, new road from Smith Road to Town Line Creek, which is that this start this summer?
No, as far as I know, that's under design this year and then to be constructed in 27. So, I mean, that's a good point. I would want to study it before any type of disturbance to the next phase. Maybe they're going to try to get it out at the end of the year, but I know they're still early in design. So this whole next section is phase 2.
I'd recommend we just look at it in the fall, Chris. Count it again. It's not going to have the highway department throw counters out there. It's not going to be a big deal.
Do you want to count this next phase too?
For a pre-construction
Yeah.
phase, I don't think it'll hurt.
Al, is that okay? All right.
All right, that closes item number 2. We've already reviewed item number 3. We'll move to old business. Innsbrook, South Castle Rock, Running Brook intersection. This is one that we won't be able to take.
All right, so this was an old business item. I'm not going to run through the same presentation deck. Just to tell you that your initial review back in February, you were waiting traffic counts by the highway department. And those were collected in early February when school was in session. Here are the results of those traffic counts. This is the subject matter or the subject intersection, Running Brook in South Castle Rock and Innsbrook. Innsbrook and South Castle Rock are the stop controlled legs. This was, the volume shown here is between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. on the highest volume day collected. And you will note that the major road would be the Castle Rock / Innsbrook approaches. Still very insignificant when you look at traffic counts. It's just a residential neighborhood. This isn't significant at all. Per the book, I just went over that. Per the book, you're supposed to stop the minor approaches and not the major. And according to the book, it is not signed correctly. With that, I'll turn it over to the board.
We can't vote on this one. I'm going to move we hold it because that's all we can do.
We can receive and file.
No action. We can't receive and file. We can take no action, per Chris.
I think, personally, I think that they're the minor and the major are so close that we're not doing anything here.
And the only thing you would recommend is,
Like to move signs in, stop signs there.
is flip the stop signs would be the only thing that you would do,
Which we're not gonna.
which isn't gonna happen.
How about we do nothing?
I mean, there's,
Well, not vote. You're right.
We can't
I
vote.
suggest. I imply.
I think this one we have to leave on the agenda as a hold, that we're gonna have to vote to receive and file just because it's on the old business waiting for the count, so. Our
Okay.
recommendation is going to be to take no action to receive and file, and we
Do you
just need to
guys-
confirm that at the next meeting.
do you guys need any additional information for next month on this?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
Item B under old business is still held pending counts, and item C is still waiting feedback from the attorney and highway department responses. With that, we can close the old business unless there's any other old business that anyone on this board wishes to bring before us. Since we can't vote, don't matter. With that, we will thank our liaisons for attending with us this evening, and we will move on to any further site plans that we have. We have one, at least, if not more. In Chris's favorite
More
box.
than one.
More than one, or only one?
Box.